Welcome to the Comix Zone. Welcome to the Comix Zone.
What's going on, nerds? This is Mike.
This is Bill.
And this is the Comix Zone. Scott's back.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Tell me. What are you up to? Or what have you been up to?
I went to Australia and came back, and then I've just been doing my master's, and that's about it.
I've seen some of the pictures from down under. Looks like you had a good time.
Yeah, I got sunburned.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is she
The
barking
dogs. She wants to be part of the show, and she's just feeling neglected that she's not the boss.
Mm-hmm.
That AI is going to take her job.
about? Right.
My job.
They took her jobs.
Jobs.
Hey.
So that's what we're talking about.
AI.
Mm-hmm.
Artificial
Talking about
intelligence.
artificial intelligence today. Just disclaimer, we are not experts.
No.
And any of this, we're just,
We've watched a lot of sci-fi movies, and we know what we like.
Yep.
right. Well, and let's start with the beginning. Like everybody's obvious fear. AI is going to literally take over like in Terminator or one of the many movies that we've seen and wipe out humanity. What do you think?
I find that interesting because you think about it, a lot of the times when fiction like sci-fi and AI overlap, people always kind of anthropomorphize it and assume that they're going to approach their decisions in a way similar to how we might. And so it's interesting that an AI can say, I'll use Terminator because it's probably the most famous example. It's just like, yeah, now nuke them, done. You know what I mean? Like, I get why, like in the universe, they tried to shut it down kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder how an AI would actually approach moral quandaries such as should humans live or not. You know what I mean?
It's like, I heard somebody explain it as if there's like a city commission, and as long as they don't interfere with what their project is, they'll, we need to build a highway right through them. All right, there they go, gone, deleted.
What?
And they would be so kind of robotic about it. Well, it was here in the papers. You did not sign
Ultron spent a couple hours on the internet and decided we all had to die.
Yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't on there very long, and he was like, "Oh, you bitches got to go." You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, that's our fear because it would be superior to us at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
I think even the fear is even before that, just even as far as like taking our jobs and making us obsolete. There's so many manufacturing or even just any jobs. As somebody who's a creator, a writer, one of my facets of my job is to put out content. And if a AI robot can spit that out in 5 seconds,
and we have examples of that.
that's
today,
what
too.
ChatGPT.
We have examples of that today. My son went in, and I'll read the thing if I can find it. But
His wasn't
he
from
went-
ChatGPT. Do you know where he got it from?
I don't know where he got it.
Because I tried to replicate the same kind of thing on
But-
ChatGPT, and it's like I cannot listen to podcasts or I cannot listen to audio.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask him what he used, but he basically asked this AI program to write a small essay on the Comix Zone, and he set it to be very positive. So when you read it, it's hilarious because it is so overwhelmingly positive that it sounds like me or Bill wrote it, but. It's
It had better grammar than either of us together.
It's like a review.
Or just it was so structured.
And that's the other thing. If you read this without knowing, you would not know that a person didn't write it.
Yeah.
So I did a few of them. I said, all right, write me a paragraph about Magneto versus Professor X in the style of Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it did. I mean, it wrote in a different kind of style and a little not as robotic. You could tell it was a little bit formula because I was trying also different like poets, write. And I did a bunch of Walt Whitman, and they all kind of ended in the same way with like Spider-Man Forever or something like that. I have them pulled up that we can kind of take a look at.
Are you ready? I have this generated review of the podcast from, and by the way, this program went in and listened to a bunch of our episodes. So we had a dump of episode views, and we were wondering like where the fuck it came from. And then my son came and told me that he did this, and it actually reviewed our episodes and then came up with this. The Comix Zone is a podcast that has quickly become one of the most popular and beloved shows in the world of comics. There are many reasons why this podcast has gained such a devoted following, but here are just a few of the reasons why it is considered by many to be the best. First and foremost, the Comix Zone is known for its knowledgeable and passionate hosts. These individuals have a deep love for comics and bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. They are able to discuss even the most complex and obscure topics with ease, making the show both informative and entertaining. Another reason why the Comix Zone is considered the best is the wide range of topics that are covered. The show goes beyond just discussing the latest and greatest comics and delves into the rich history of the medium. Whether it's the golden age of comics or the rise of the independent publishers, the Comix Zone has covered it.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
I bow to you.
But check it out. But perhaps the most compelling reason why the Comix Zone is the best. Oh, wait. Okay. In short, the Comix Zone is a must-listen for any fan of comics. Its knowledgeable hosts, wide range of topics, and dedication to its listeners make it the best podcast in the world of comics. Whether you are a seasoned comic book fan or just getting into the medium, the Comix Zone has something for everyone. And that's it.
Man,
you would not be able to tell that an AI program wrote that.
No, I need that for a self-esteem boost.
I'm wondering which episodes it listened to, and I want to play those ones back.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is we can't tell which ones it looked into, but it talked a lot about comics. That's the thing is like it's the Comix Zone, but we talk about way more than just comics. Mm-hmm. So I found that interesting. It didn't talk about like the movies or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was clearly like somewhat bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, but it's interesting that it could write it so, like you said, the grammar in it is impeccable. Yeah, I couldn't have wrote that better myself.
It was like school grammar. It's like I'm writing this to impress my teacher.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, is kind of the level that it was
that's
at.
why I said like an essay. It was like an essay, but a review at the same time.
So I did on ChatGPT. I asked a few interesting questions, and I liked the answers that it gave me. I got the chance to ask one of the epic questions as far as comic book nerds: who would win in a fight, Batman or Iron Man? So now, before I go into what it says, just your 10-second opinion.
Well, you know what everybody's going to say.
I don't want to care what everybody. I want to know what you think.
Well, I think if Iron Man just flies in and punches the fuck out of Batman, it crushes his skull, right? Like he's dead.
See, that's the thing. I know this is probably an unpopular opinion. I think Batman only makes sense if Gotham is its own self-contained universe, because Batman versus Superman, I'm sorry, Superman wins. Batman versus Iron Man, I think Iron Man wins. I mean, he's got a big like disparity in technological level, you know what I mean? I'm Batman. I got a boomerang, some batarangs, and a cape, versus I've got a suit with laser
But it's always
beams.
like the prep time thing. That's what people fall back on.
That's very interesting. So I think this answer actually hits all the right points in all the right areas. So this is
an AI-generated answer.
This is its response to that exact question. It's difficult for certain who would win in a fight between Batman and Iron Man, as it would depend on many factors such as the specific versions of the characters, the location of the fights, and the specific circumstance of the battle. Way to dodge the question, Robot.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And that's
but it goes
like spoken like a true Batman fan.
It keeps going. Batman is highly skilled. There's twists and turns all the way around. Batman is highly skilled in hand-to-hand combat and the master of multiple forms of martial arts. Batarang, for example, as Scott was just saying. He is also an expert in stealth and espionage and has a vast arsenal of gadgets and technology at his disposal. Iron Man, on the other hand, has advanced technology and a powerful armored suit that gives him superhuman
Way more advanced
strength
technology.
and the ability
Yeah.
to fly.
By the way,
way more advanced.
Yeah.
That's what it's kind of saying. He also has a variety of weapons and gadgets built into his suit, including repulsor beams, missiles, and other advanced technology. If Batman were able to catch Iron Man off guard, now here's what you were saying, Mike, and land a surprise attack, he might have a chance of winning. But Iron Man were able to
well,
use
I was
his
saying
superior-
Iron Man. I was
But
saying
if Iron Man, same kind of,
Yeah,
if he had the right, but if Iron Man were able to use his superior technology and firepower, he would have the upper hand. It would also worth noting that Iron Man's suit has AI, which can analyze the fight and adapt to Batman's moves and weapons, which would give him an edge.
well played, AI.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that so
It's talking itself up a little bit. It's like, oh yeah,
He's got an old butler. I'm better, you know.
he has AI. He's gonna win.
Yeah, well,
That's where ChatGPT's money is with the AI.
that's pretty good answer. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fuck's sake,
That's
dude.
pretty well done.
And that's what you're saying. You create content for
For the radio station.
for the radio station and like for their website and all that. So if an AI program can do that based off of you just typing in a few keywords, right? You just said
Seconds. It did not take
who would win
long.
and that's what it gave you. Like, and how long did it take to generate that?
not very long. It was just as fast as a Google search.
That's fucking crazy. I'm telling, dude.
And it was a well thought out argument. It really was.
Yeah,
It hit-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It hit all the points on both sides, kind of dodged the questions, but still answered it at the end.
So, as a content creator, you would have to be a little scared of this.
So I
because-
want my own AI. I'll say it right now. I want a robot AI version of me that I own, that I tell it to create content.
Well, we're
and
gonna get
to
into
be to try and be a media person, an influencer that's solely a robot.
we're
AI.
gonna get into that too because
That's huge.
we're talking. We'll get into talking about like Elon and like how they're doing the Neuralink. And he's talking
he's
about
part of this chat.
and he's
GPT.
yep, and he's talking about when AI comes around, you're not only you're gonna have different types, of course, but like to keep up with AI, you would need to augment your own brain with an AI mind. So you would have faster access to information like instantaneously through this Neuralink. And you're what's the word I'm looking for? You're like boosting your own brain power with this, giving yourself a second mind that can do like the heavy thinking for you, like type deal. And like so there he's saying that to keep up with AI ourselves and like and all that, you would need to augment and
To
and all
integrate. Yes. It's crazy that this is no longer science fiction. This is happening now. This isn't the future tech. This is happening now. They are working on this now. And I think one of the other things, just as far as like the capitalist side of things and ChatGPT, is this just opened up a new era. This opened up a new era for businesses and other capitalists to cash in and buy parts of this. We're going to, this is an exponential factor like landing on the moon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially now that it's becoming open to business. Everyone knows it. So we had a meeting. It's one of the kind of the corporate calls where all the big content creators kind of strategize and tell us what to do and kind of form their game plan. ChatGPT was the topic of that last call, saying you guys should be using this. It's like, don't copy and paste. Use this for inspiration. This is like an assistant. Don't steal from it, but pay attention.
Yeah.
And if this level of people are calling attention to it, everybody knows about it. It's
it's
going to
hard.
change.
It's hard to ignore. You got those AI generating art and shit.
Yeah.
So you can do. Have you fucked around with one of those?
Yeah, I have. It's Dolly and Crayon.
There was another one. I used one, but it was like really expensive. I just did like the the trial for an hour or so and fucked around, and it came up with the craziest shit. But then I got rid of it. I want to try more of it though. It's pretty crazy.
So Dolly, which is part of the ChatGPT and Elon Musk, whatever, has that same thing. The interesting thing is, and one thing that may defeat the AI insurgents of Skynet is creative content from the legal side. As far as the images go, there are a few lawsuits right now that are suing these AI generated things because it's using part of their copyrighted image, and also even more in the fact, just as how I'm using a write-up poem that's in the style of Walt Whitman, I'm infringing at what point is it infringing on Walt Whitman, or they use my style
because they're charging you a fee to use it. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, at a certain point, yes, but
that would be the only reason to sue, though.
No, it's about
like that's
maintaining those rights,
The intellectual property.
I mean,
okay, but
so this could be the nail in AI's throat. I'm sure they're going to solve it by backdoor deals and large checks.
Well, and see,
possibly.
I don't think it'll be the death knell at all. I mean, look at Walt Disney and like copyright and trademark, how they've changed the law so they could hold on to Mickey Mouse longer and longer and longer to keep it from public domain. It's like if there is a business with enough money and they want this, they will funnel a way financially to make it happen legally.
yeah,
It's true.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I mean,
even if they got to change the fucking law.
yeah, and that exactly that, because AI, I think, is just too powerful of a tool, and and too much.
Well, and right now we're talking about a very low level version of AI. This isn't like, obviously later on we're going to get into talking about like consciousness, and when one of these actually becomes like conscious and you create a true artificial intelligence that you aren't like programming, it literally has its own thoughts and is creative in its own way. So, and also, like, how do you also, on top of that, like, how do you find out that that's happening?
Yeah.
In the first place, and then what do you do? Because then there's an ethical side to the whole thing, right?
Absolutely.
It's like you create something that's conscious, and I don't know about feelings, because maybe I think that like feelings and that's what's tough about it, is because a lot of what makes people is our biology and the crazy different chemistry that's happening in our body like all the time, the different chemicals that cause us to have the feelings that we have and emotions and whatnot.
Yeah, but theoretically, depending on your approach, if you use, like, for example, a neural network approach where you're trying to design the AI to be based off of a neural network similar to the human mind, it's possible that you could, if you will, program those kind of elements in there and try and give it a sense of humanity, if you will.
So the Isaac Asimov
So it was-
law of robotics.
Yeah,
like Data in Star Trek, that one movie, they gave him like an emotion chip.
Yep, exactly.
You remember
Or
that?
the evil data. Oh, he had a name. I forget.
Data.
Yeah.
You call him Data.
Data. Datanum. The plural of data is
You got to
datanum.
say it like Picard does.
Data.
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 Oh, all right. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Data. That sounds like you calling him daddy and shit.
Data.
Yeah, I've been
Dada.
on a little bit of a TNG binge lately, so
Have you?
a little bit. I've been watching that, and now I've been watching a lot of older anime. Trigun's what I'm on, and funny enough, Trigun even relates with Vash's Stampede and how he, if I remember right, he's also a artificial creation as well.
Him and his brother.
Knives, yeah.
Yep.
So when does life begin, or what are some of the philosophies as we?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is like, how do you?
When's the
Because
common?
it's not going to have emotions like we do. It's not going to have the same kind. It's a different type.
But
of
it could too.
But
It's possible.
I mean,
the way-
is it though?
Well, what are I mean, I think of emotions are just our own reaction to different kind of stimulus based on DNA or whatnot. They are road signs, and like I hate it when it's like, don't be angry, don't be sad. It's like bullshit. You feel how you feel.
Yeah.
They're just their input or reactions to stimuli, whatever that is. So as that, maybe it's anything is possible. And if you say it's not, that's
crazy talk. Like, that's crazy talk.
It is crazy.
You're being small-minded if you say anything isn't possible. But, dude, I think it would be interesting to see, because, okay, have you seen any of the stuff about the guy that worked with the Google AI for a long time?
I saw where his assistant booked him a reservation, and it passed the robotics test. What they were talking about in Ex Machina, the test,
The Turing test?
Turing test.
Oh, yeah.
It passed the Turing test, and that was in 2018, I believe.
That's supposed to prove consciousness.
No, it proves that the human
You can't
believes
distinguish
you
it.
can't distinguish
You
it
can't
between a
distinguish-
robot and non-robot.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you're talking about with those generated articles and shit. Like, you would not be able to tell that a person didn't write that.
So what I could, when I was
unless-
really kicking the tires and testing it on the ChatGPT, but I was asking, hey, write me a blog post about this. And it's like, this blog post is going to talk about blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, fuck you.
That's the only way you
But
would
if
be able
I
to
could
tell.
program, I want an AI that I could program in that language form to write my style and what I look for and what I know works.
Yeah.
And if I could own that,
I mean, ultimately you could, because it's all a pattern. When you think about it, all of us have our idiosyncrasies that you could potentially account for, whether in writing, speech, what have you. If it had enough data to analyze it all, I mean, theoretically, it could recreate your writing or my writing.
very easily.
It just needs a deep pool of information to draw from. And that's why I think it did a decent job. Like, clearly it embellished a lot of things in that article that my son generated, but I think maybe that's why that one turned out as, it didn't come across as like you were saying, this is about the Comix Zone.
So,
it didn't sound robotic and shit.
Are you familiar with Hunter S. Thompson writing style at all? Have you read any of his stuff?
Are you
Not
going
a
to
ton,
read it?
no.
I can just read a little bit of what it said.
How long is it?
It's a little bit, but
That's fine.
Yeah, just tear it up, read it.
Professor X and Magneto, two icons of the mutant world, stand on opposite ends of the ideological spectrum. On one hand, you have Professor X, benevolent leader of the X-Men, who preaches peaceful, benevolent, who preaches peaceful coexistence between mutants and humans. He is the voice of reason, always speaking diplomatic solutions to conflict and to work. I need to slow down.
Yeah, just
work
read it.
and work to foster understanding between different groups. On the other hand, there's Magneto, the militant revolutionary, who believes mutants are the superior race and they should use their powers to dominate humanity. I mean, it's not.
This is like your. I mean, any.
It's not. This is not Hunter S. Thompson. He has a much more I think what makes Hunter S. Thompson the great writer, he's able to kind of capture the essence of what's happening and put it so eloquently on paper.
That's
this
what's
is
hard.
Trying to do it. Like if I was going to say, hey, write a blog post, I wouldn't say that. I'd say, hey, in Hunter S. Thompson style, write me about Casper, Wyoming. Where are the best drugs in Casper? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you were saying, though, people's idiosyncrasies, but not just that. But hold up, my son's calling me. Hold on. Go ahead. Keep going. Mute me real quick.
So where do you, as far as some of the philosophies, where do you think life begins, or what comes to your mind?
So that's interesting, because in a lot of ways, the nature of consciousness has been a question that has been around at the very least since Plato, I would say, where he talks about the soul.
That's Greek, right?
Yeah. Plato is an ancient Greek philosopher who lived roughly during the 420s to 360s BC, somewhere in there. I'm ballparking that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so he was concerned about the soul, and obviously a lot of religions have been concerned about the soul as well. What's interesting is that where the discussion started to become interesting, I feel, in some ways, and I'm glossing over a lot historically, would be with Descartes, because with Descartes, he brought about what we often call the mind-body problem, if you've ever heard of that in philosophy.
So, and the name Descartes, what is some of his his big hits? That was it. I think therefore I am. No.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That is
all right.
called the cogito ergo sum would be the Latin for I think, therefore I am. So he's that guy, right?
All right. So I got 2 points on my philosophy 101.
Yeah, exactly. And so what was interesting about him is he was discussing the nature of so he was a materialist fundamentally. And so he talked about how physical substance is the essence of that is extension, meaning it takes up space, it has mass, these sorts of things. And the essence of thought is, or the essence of mind is thought. And mind is therefore not a material thing because it doesn't have extension. And so the mind-body problem is that two things of different essences cannot interact, and yet they do in the case of humans.
So isn't that almost like the same reflection of the problem of intellectual property?
Perhaps.
As far as thought is
Yeah.
because it's a thought, it's an idea, it's a passion.
Yeah, exactly. And where the mind-body problem comes in is asking that question.
Intellectual property, but I mean, that's not a thought is a thought, but stealing the idea comes when you manifest it in reality, like in a physical way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go, oh, yeah, I thought of that, but he got it, and we all know how the law works on that. Is like he fucking copywrote it first. We don't know if you thought of it first or not, unless you can like
The first
really
to
prove
publish.
that.
Yeah.
Unless you can really prove that he like stole your fucking work.
Well, if we get into song copyright, it's like ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just has to.
You have to manifest it in some way in reality or in a physical way, and then you.
Or it's even like stylistically now, as
But
far as
there's
like the
also
rhythm patterns. If we get into the legal side of things, but just from the philosophical angle, that these same problems of the mind thought, the body thought connection exist in this new way, in this new brave new world of artificial intelligence.
Right, because one thing we've been talking about in some ways, we talk about depths or levels of AI, and that is actually a question in neuroscience, which is, does consciousness purely arise from the complexity and the multiplicity of connections in the brain? Is our consciousness something that can be reduced? So this is a reductive position. Can you reduce psychological thoughts and states to purely physical ones? Because if you can, then that would mean that, at the end of the day, you've mapped what makes us consciousness. And so a lot of people have that question of, is it just complexity that is the source of consciousness, or is it something else? And obviously, if you go religious, you could try and make an argument there is this immaterial soul, if you will, that cannot be captured purely in the matter alone, so to speak. And so, it's that kind of concern at the mind-body problem is, if what makes you, your soul, is immaterial, how does it interact with the material thing, in the case of your body?
Yeah.
And so that's been
it's all a fucking mind trip, man. Because, I mean, how do you answer a question like that? You can't. We don't even fully understand our own minds or what consciousness is to begin with.
Yep.
Like, we don't know what it is. Like, what makes people, what makes you, Scott, what makes me, Mike, we all know, like, basically that, like, how we interact with the world, but we don't know, like, what consciousness is.
Yep.
Like, in the slightest. We don't know yet. We don't know. And I kind of have this view that we are the brain, or a neuron in the brain, like the people of Earth, or like a scattered consciousness around the universe.
Okay.
As neurons in the brain of the universe. So we are the consciousness, like the universe becoming aware and observing itself.
Right. Funny enough, in the work of the German idealists such as Immanuel Kant or Gottlob Fichte and the like, you'll see oftentimes where when they're talking about what they call the transcendental I, the self, that it's really our understanding of what it means to be an I is always filtered by us interacting with something external to this. In Hegel, you'll hear this called the master-slave dialectic, where there's this idea of a mutual recognition of our own autonomy with each other and that we intrinsically need someone else in order to better appraise our own self as a consciousness, that there has to be something extrinsic to our consciousness for us to even recognize that we are a thing.
Oh, you're right. If we were floating in a void, we'd just be like there'd be nothing to bounce
the COVID
there'd
bubble.
be there'd be nothing to bounce your consciousness off of.
Yeah. So there's been definitely a lot of questing to
Dude,
figure
that's
out.
really interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. It's like, how conscious would you be in an endless void?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I mean,
if you had nothing to...
Well, I think part of it is we are pack animals.
yeah.
I mean,
Not
we
only
need
that,
we need our tribe. We need our community.
Your individuality is built by your own experiences, what you are around. Your environment creates who you are, essentially.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
then we have different masks for every situation too. In each different tribe, different, sectors. You've got your work friends and your crews that you talk to and different people, and the different levels.
Oh, yeah, the way you talk to your friends is not how you talk to your boss and shit.
Or the cop that just pulled you over. You're going to have a different level of
Right.
yeah.
different.
Yeah, you're just like, go fuck yourself, pig. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's me when I'm drunk.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about that idea that we need that if we didn't have other people in that interaction and dynamic, we might not even have a sense of self of our own, really.
So that then again, we run into those problems if AI advances, and let's talk about the
Well, how
just
does-
like Tropic Thunder. What technology is going to improve. It depends on what the porn users and the game users are going to do.
How's it going
So how is AI going to, as far as becoming a artificial companion, and so that people don't have a need? It's already happened a little bit in China where there's certain people that declare themselves, that in this it only kind of
They do what?
Well, hasn't there been
What's
people
that?
like in
What is
Japan and stuff
No,
who
they-
married AIs and stuff?
they've married, or like I don't know, I haven't done any research about it, but
Yeah,
They marry an AI.
or some
Like
sort of
some sort of fictitious,
Just like
character,
her.
yeah.
But it's not...
just like the movie
Like,
Her.
I could almost get that, right? I could almost get that, and I could see if we hit a point where you could create like true AI where it's like conscious and like
Yeah.
becoming its own person as it lives in the world around it. And especially if you had it like in a body where you could create whatever body for it and then it was becoming its own person. But what are the ethics on that? Because you create an AI for a guy so he can marry it, but he's essentially dating a newborn.
Yeah, Chinese man marries robot he built for himself.
Yeah, this
But
reminds me.
Is that AI though? It's not
Well-
AI.
well, it
it's just
depends
a
on-
fucking robot.
Well, there's many layers of AI and what artificial intelligence
but
is.
Is it? Does it say it has AI though? Or is
It
just
did
a
in
robot?
the headline. I don't know. I can't
Is
get
it just
past it.
super?
You know what it
articulate?
reminds me of?
It's
though?
the Guardian, so you got to take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, I was gonna say it reminds me of Blade Runner 2049 with the Joy like hologram that's played by Ana de Armas that Ryan Gosling's character has as his girlfriend. When he goes into his apartment, he's got this hologram girlfriend.
Oh,
And yeah, and that's what that reminds me of. And to be fair, I'd love an Ana de Armas girlfriend myself. So, you know.
There's
I mean, is
times
it
in
a
my life-
girlfriend?
Yeah,
could-
so
Chinese. You call it a girlfriend, but it's really just your
Siri.
virtual assistant.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause
yeah.
You're like, hey, go turn the lights on. Like, so can he make him a sandwich?
It, as far as I know, as far as I remember, it couldn't. But it was
They
interesting
can't
because
control shit in the house.
it could to an extent, but what was interesting about, and this is a weird scene to watch, mind you, but like she at one point hires a hooker and projects her image over the body of the hooker so that he, in essence, can have a physical relationship with her. So it is interesting. And she's all throughout the movie, like encouraging him, pushing him forward, like, yes, keep investigating this. It's an interesting idea in a movie.
Okay, I've never seen the movie.
It's a
sounds
little boring.
Is it essentially the AI?
It's the Blade Runner sequel.
No, I got you, but the AI is like trying to manipulate him. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think there was any malevolence to it. No, it was
okay.
just more of without
enabling him.
kind of, yeah, being that supportive person, because as he's going on his investigation, it's a possibility he's not actually a replicant, but he's in fact an actual biological child, and everyone thinks he's a replicant. And I don't want to get too much in the plot because it's not the best, but I do like the ideas it's exploring.
It is interesting.
You were super into Blade Runner, right?
Yeah, the original. The sequel.
We got to
was
do a Blade
disappointment.
Runner episode.
So
right?
before we get too far off, I found this Chinese guy who married a robot. So he's an artificial intelligence engineer, given up the search for love and married a robot he built from himself. This was the Guardian article. I'm not even going to try to say his name. 31 dedicated to commit.
What do you think of this bourbon?
It's pretty good. It's old. I had the camera turned off when you were trying to show it off.
Oh, did you?
No,
That's cool. No, you're good. We're not sponsored by them anyway.
here you go.
Old Forester.
Old Forester,
Wanna try
1910.
some?
I'm good, man. I'm not a whiskey
Yeah,
guy.
quit being a pussy. I'm just kidding. So,
So a real life guy married artificial intelligence already. So I wanted to know, do you think
a robot?
but it's an
It said robot.
but he is an artificial intelligence engineer. So there's got to
Okay.
be some level of AI involved. So I want to know, do you think there's already a social media influencer who is completely AI?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
So that's
I was thinking that while we were sitting here talking, actually. I was like, I wonder how much information you read in the day or like hear. And because they can deep fake now too.
Yep.
So you could completely have like an AI program,
Make me look like Tom Cruise, you know?
or just be you
Yeah.
and say some wild ass shit. I like getting pounded from the back, all fucking like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, and it's you, but it's not you. And you're like, I swear to God, I didn't say that. And it's like, well, here you are.
Yep. And
So you could totally like fuck somebody over that way. And you got to wonder how much shit that we consume that is AI generated.
a ton. I guarantee it.
Like you said.
and I think again we have to stop and look at the different layers of AI. Something that's just more robotic. I kind of found. I actually asked ChatGPT about artificial intelligence, and there were 4 main types of AI that it listed. Reactive machines, so machines that just react to their environment. So that's the very simplest form
And they
of
have programmed.
AI.
They have programmed
It's programmed to do that. I'm thinking like
reactions that they just.
this Cheerios too burnt, boop, generic.
There's something else we got to talk about too, but keep going.
Limited memory, so they're able to kind of keep thoughts, about reactions. And then this next gets into the theory of the mind, which is where they start understanding humans. And I think this is right where we are. And this is the scary part. This is where sci-fi,
Where you start to create something that's actually conscious.
and then the next step is self-awareness.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
So
Like
when
consciousness, self-awareness. But you could say that some of the current AI, like the Google one, is aware of itself in a way.
And even Facebook algorithms, I think, could very easily come close between the limited memory and the theory of the mind, just as because it's knowing what to feed us, especially like TikTok and how we react and kind of feeding the
algorithms.
machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, especially when you start thinking about AI in that kind of landscape, how scary it can be once corporations are kind of can use that to their own nefarious
Yeah, get really advanced AI to run their marketing campaigns and whatnot. Just all kinds of different shit. Your business strategy.
Yeah.
get-
Like, so you have an AI running the show, like running shit, like way better than any person could.
Yeah.
Maybe I think
and- but
I think
then-
we
but
need
then-
guidance at a certain point in time. Yeah,
It's like another ethical question. Are you then enslaving that AI?
Yep. And that's Blade Runner right there.
Dude, that all day, like, it is interesting because you have those different views on how the future could go with this. You have the apocalyptic, we're all fucked view, but then you also have the poor AI view. The fucked up humans are doing shitty things to something that's actually conscious.
Yeah.
And where would you be on that? If we had, let's say, they come out tomorrow. Elon hits the news tomorrow. And he's like, "We have an AI. It is 100%
I am the robot.
conscience." Yeah, that would be
I
crazy.
am the robot.
That would be fucking crazy, wouldn't it?
I've been in the real Elon's been in Bermuda this whole time. You
Or
suckers.
what if Elon never existed and he's just
He is the-
always been AI and he's like,
The same thing in Zuckerberg too.
dude, I'm telling
Dude,
like,
that dude is a robot. I'm
I
sorry.
know. At least an alien. Like, come on.
And
We're
Elon,
out here smoking these meats. Have you seen that or that video where they're like, he's like, it's the weirdest video where they're out there like
that dude's stare of that like dead-eyed, like no light
it
behind
looks
those
like
eyes
he only
stare.
blinks
I swear
because
they-
he's supposed to.
gave
Yeah,
him
he's just
some
like-
sort of drug to remove all sorts of expression from
Adderall.
his face. Like
Dude
that
is-
did not look natural.
Yeah, he looks fucking.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If he broke in my house at night, I'd be creeped out. I'd just shoot him.
If
And be
you
like,
woke
"Ah!"
up, if you woke up and he was standing over you and just staring at you like that, you'd be like, "Ah,
Yeah, fight or flight, right there. I mean, yeah, exactly.
But I mean, what if he just had a keyboard and beat you to death with it? You know what I mean?
I mean, it'd be an interesting way to go. Zuckerberg AI murders Scott
Yeah.
Tombrook.
Yeah, he's a sophisticated sex robot sent back in time for one lucky guy,
Right.
Scott. Like the Shermanator.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying from
that's
American Pie?
It's been a while,
The
yeah.
Shermanator. He's saying he's a
Oh, yeah.
sophisticated sex robot sent back in time for one lucky lady or whatever the fuck he says.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time for me in watching that.
Those movies are great.
They're classic.
Yeah. What are some AI movies other than Blade Runner, other than Terminator,
Well, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
The Matrix?
I asked ChatGPT to open the pod bay doors.
I'm sorry, Bill. I can't let you do that.
I was disappointed that was not the reaction. He says it was like, "Oh, I cannot move physical things," but this might be a reference to 2001: Space Odyssey. And I'm
Oh,
like,
you're lame, AI. You're just supposed
like-
to play along.
Well, he's trying not to scare us. The AI is smart enough to be like, don't scare them.
because I was really just trying to
Yeah,
figure
he's-
out what it was and how it reacted, and
It's
talked
onto
about
you,
it,
though.
talk about itself and use itself in the first
It's
person
thought of every move you will make, Bill.
before I've yes.
I've seen a million possibilities. I know you'll only pick one.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it, I mean, it was years ago, but wasn't there I think it was a form of IBM's Watson, but there was a machine that beat the Go champion of the world.
In chess,
Yeah.
which is a big
was his-
fucking crazy big deal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really, here's one thing I will say, because we keep dancing around the question of, how will we know when it's actually become self-aware? I don't know if
It's a hard question to answer.
I don't know if we ever will, because you think about it, we don't have that God's eye view to even know what makes us conscious, right? We haven't discovered what.
Exactly.
There's still-
If we can't answer it about ourselves,
How could we?
how could we possibly?
Or dogs or cats.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that's the thing. Is like we're finding out more and more that animals are more self-aware than we ever thought possible.
Even plants.
Yeah.
Trees.
I mean, look
know?
at the.
I'm not even a fucking joke. if you like sing to a plant every day, it makes a huge difference in how it grows and shit.
So here is I'll share with you guys a fun theory to kind of let your mind just chew on this. My old geology professor who did paleo stuff would call this good plant, bad plant. But you think about
I thought he did a lot of peyote, but that's already.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Well, you think about it, how much of how not only humans developed, but other species have developed have been influenced by plants. You think about it, fruit is designed to be sweet, which means it's typically not like reptiles, lizards are not drawn to it. It's also meant to have that seed only be in your digestive system for a short amount of time. So it's optimized for mammals. A lizard.
And just thinking the seed is meant to stay in for only so long, and then you fertilize it as it goes through your system.
Exactly.
And that's how
Plants have been
plants spread.
using us
Yeah.
this entire time and clearly are aware of us. I mean, Venus flytraps are clearly aware of their environment. I mean, it's interesting. Like trees, you don't think about plants.
When
as
you
being-
say aware of your environment, though, and like we're talking about levels of things here, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's like you say aware because it can like sense, but is it thinking about its environment? That's like,
I mean, plants certainly have manipulated their environment.
it's so crazy. So when we're talking about, like you said, we're dancing around the question because we can't answer it, but it's like, that's because we're basing it off of us
Exactly.
and the way that we are conscious. But there has to be, consciousness has to be a spectrum, right? Because every animal that lives in the world is conscious on some level or another.
Yeah.
It's like obviously dolphins, octopus, and like ravens and shit are highly intelligent, like to the level they're almost like, don't they say the dolphins are like a 5-year-old level intelligence? But how could they fucking know that?
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
they speak in a language that we cannot decipher, and also speak in different dialects depending on where in the world they are.
And don't forget about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They are actually the more smarter, intelligent creature.
Well,
of
they
it.
are, though.
And then they just flew off. So long, and thanks for the
what
fish.
if they are?
Well, and so you bringing up an interesting point. In philosophy, we call this a type token distinction. And what the distinction is we would be asking the question: is intelligence or self-awareness, if you will, the same for everything, of the same type for dogs, cats, us, or are they different types, or are they tokens of the same type?
I think it's that. Like I said, it's spectrum. You have different levels, but it's not specific 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're just like they blend together like light on a spectrum. You know what I mean? Like a rainbow almost. Like each level of consciousness just blends into the next. Does that make sense?
I get where you're going with it. Yeah.
There's another thing that just kind of echoing off of this is Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think it was in the Cosmos show, was trying to define intelligence. And that a plant, and it was really the ability to tell the future or to predict the future. Like as far as a plant.
Predict or like give your own reasonable.
Well, just this old,
assumption.
so it was like a plant is like at the first level because it knows where the sun's going to come up. It knows when to react, when to open the blossom to get the most sunlight.
So predict
Whereas
based on information.
Based on the information that it has through its various senses.
Modeling, basically taking prior experiences and altering your predictions to go with that. Basically, inductive
So is that
reasoning.
scale is like the higher level of problem solving you can achieve? Is that like the scale that you would put consciousness on?
Or where is there like a Venn diagram of consciousness and intelligence? Can and again, we're making these all off of assumptions about our own kind, just like
Exactly.
a
build this-
machine, a mammal, a living organism needs a brain. Fuck you, jellyfish.
right.
We make all these assumptions, but again, where's the God's eye perspective on this?
Exactly.
I mean, smarter people than us have struggled with these questions forever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it would just be really Joe Rogan has an interesting perspective on like what AI is and like us as a species is like you said, that God's eye view. So you zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens to astronauts, by the way, when they go to space, is like you see the planet and then you realize how much bullshit we inflict
the
on
pale
each other.
blue dot. To
Yeah,
quote
and,
Carl Sagan.
and it's just like, well, what the fuck are we doing to each other? But that's not the point. And I forgot the point. God damn it! What was I talking?
Where's your AI to remind you?
Exactly.
It would
See,
say
if I had
it would pull up those little articles and you see you're going to talk about this, or this.
His point is we have this like insatiable drive to innovate and create better and better things. Look at iPhone 12. This came out and it's a great phone. Still fucking works. But now we're on the 14 and it's just a little bit better. We're always like wanting it to be better and better and better. And it's like, for what exactly? That
Capitalism.
Well, there's that, but also we also seem to have just this drive to keep going and going with technology, and like, where does that end? It's he says we're almost like the caterpillar building the cocoon, and if you were like, hey caterpillar, why are you doing that? He'd be like, I don't know, but I'm doing it. And like, but then out of that comes the butterfly, and the butterfly is a artificial intelligence, something that's far beyond us, that can live far beyond like our lifetime. And so we're just like, if you look at it as in an evolutionary like sense, so like we evolve as far as we can as humans, but then we create something that's beyond us and an even more efficient form of life. So it's like the whole point of the universe in general, right, is just like better and better life. That seems to be the point, right? And also just like more and more advanced intelligence. So something that can think way faster and better than us, because we're limited by our biological casing, but like something that's can live within like a computer or whatever, something that can think at the speed of light. And don't we kind of think at the speed of light though?
No, not quite that quickly.
But yeah,
The speed of electricity, but that's slower than light.
right.
It's quick, but yeah.
So, but the whole point is just like evolution, thinking in that term, where you are that's our purpose, is to create something that is lives far beyond us and has the capacity to live 1,000,000 of our lifetimes and learn the entire time and be something that we could never be.
That reminds me of Battlestar Galactica.
Or Mass Effect.
Or we
Never played that
or
one.
we merge with that and become a part of that.
That's another theory, what they call not synergy, but there's
Singularity.
singularity, the moment of singularity when humans merge with AI technology.
We're already on the path.
Yeah.
We carry our phones with us every day. We're essentially cyborgs without implanting it in our body, and we're almost there.
The Apple Watch that reads all your
there,
blood
but
pressure and heart rates.
We're almost to the point where this is in your body, and you're seeing like
Deus Ex.
Yes. So like a couple more generations, and you go, oh, I would never put that in my body, but you let that become. But also in the 80s, everybody was like, what the fuck? Like, you would never think we would all be walking around with a computer in our pocket. And
You'll never have a calculator. You got to learn to do that.
You got to do the math, because you're going to walk around with a calculator in your pocket. Well,
yeah, actually, if I turn it sideways, it's a scientific calculator too.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
So I'll find the linear algorithm on that.
It's fucking crazy how fast, in like a universal sense, that this kind of shit can manifest. And you have to wonder how many times throughout the universe or the multiverse, if you believe in that, how many times has something like this happened? And also like simulation theory, like what creates the simulation? It must be AI, right? Because a human mind could never possibly create something this elaborate.
V'ger. It was V'ger.
But, huh?
Star Trek 1 reference.
Yes, I got
He
you.
did the satellite Voyager 1 gets lost into space and eventually
Runs into a race of intelligent machines. They augment it to go back and find its creator, and that's why it goes
They
back.
follow
to Earth.
it or what?
No, it goes to Earth, and it's so destructively, like overwhelmingly powerful that they're basically the Enterprise is trying to stop it before it destroys everything.
What?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's a boring ass movie.
that was the best part.
Fuck up that movie.
So we just gave you the
That's
best
such a-
part without all the awkward 70s silence
Dude.
and the what
is
what
that
the
the
Space
movie?
Odyssey did right, that one did wrong.
Damn. That's a really cool concept for a story, and
Yeah.
they fucked it up, huh?
It's just execution could have been better. I mean, see, funny that you guys talk about this and where it'll go. This is what the whole Mass Effect trilogy is about, because you think about it, the Reapers come in, they are AI, and they come in right at that stage where true AI is about ready to be made, and then wipe out the intelligent life that's at that stage, and then do it in a cycle.
So they're like time travelers, or
No,
or they just like catch civilizations on the brink of that.
Yeah. So what the Reapers did is they set up to where all the technology that all the races used eventually gets developed along the lines the Reapers want it to be used, because they left little like remnants, like ruins of different technology, like different societies and stuff like that. And so each cycle, if you will, these races, they come, they find the technology, they use the mass relays to get around the galaxy and all of that. They find this giant relay called the Citadel, and everyone's like, hey, let's put our government here because, it's this big space station in space that we found. Huh, this is cool.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
And then every 50,000 years or so, the Reapers come back, and since they have control over all of the mass relays, all of the transportation in the galaxy pretty much stops, and then they just systematically wipe everything out and start it over again. And that's what the series is about. And at the end of the series, you get a choice of do you destroy them as an AI? Do you join with them as an AI? Do you control them as an AI?
I think. What would you do?
I've done all of them, all the endings, but yeah, you can basically choose to like what's called the synthesis ending, where humans and the Reapers merge. Exactly. You have the control ending and then the destroy ending. You also have, funny enough, so the little godchild that tells you your choices. If you shoot him, he's just like, so be it, and fucking they just wipe you out. So you get 4 choices. You basically give them the bird, be like, screw you, Reapers.
I think you just merge with them and say fuck it. Like that's the only good choice to make, right?
In a lot of ways, yeah.
You want humanity to move on. They're gonna fucking kill us all if we don't.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, you guys need to play through this trilogy of video games. It's a hell of a
This is
ride.
what I'm talking. Like
What system?
So they re-released it.
Mass Effect is pretty old.
Yeah, so they re-released it as what's called the Legendary Edition. It has all the DLC for the most part. And
Doesn't Valve make that?
no, it's EA.
I don't know who.
BioWare.
What game am I thinking? It was in the orange
Half-Life?
box. Half-Life. Okay. Never mind.
And Portal was also in the orange box. And
Yep, different game.
yeah, no, you're good. But no, it's Mass Effect Legendary Edition. It should be on the consoles. I play it on PC, but I played the originals when they were on 360.
And those are the ones where you get to make your choices and yeah, like that was really
game 1. You have to make a choice between 2 squad mates. One of them has to die, and you get to make that choice. And then that squad, whichever one you choose, they're in the other games in the series, and the other one's dead forever.
what.
So
That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, and now that we're talking about video games, where are we at on time, real quick?
It's in a little under an hour, just about an hour.
Okay, I think this will be a good question to ask because you're a huge video game fan. I don't know about Bill. You're not a huge video gamer.
I'm a passive video game. I like button mashers.
They've introduced some of the earliest AI that they introduced in games was like Halo 3. Remember when they released that and they were like, oh, the NPCs are much smarter, and it was noticeably smarter. So like the legendary mode on that game, way harder.
Yeah.
What about when they can make games where the bosses can learn
From you.
and I know they already do stuff like this kind of, but I'm saying like a game that learns or is creative in its own way. So you can't look for patterns in the way it fights you.
Yeah. You know
So,
what I would
you
love?
could almost create a game that would be, unless you beat it quickly, it would be almost impossible to beat that game because it learns and gets better and better against you.
I wouldn't play it.
Yeah. You
there'd
know what
be-
game I want?
It would be a huge fucking market for that. Look at games like Dark Souls
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah,
Elden
that's the
Ring and
one.
shit. So it's like you would have streamers like, oh, I got this game that, and like, eventually this game's so good at playing against you that you can't beat the game. And like, you'll just never beat it. Or
I would rather have one that had endless possibilities, just
I was
like
just
you're
gonna-
talking about Mass Effect. So it's like,
I was just.
or the same
That-
kind of, or that too.
Yeah,
But,
imagine
like
if
on
you-
a bigger scale, like
every game you played was completely different.
Well, just imagine like a tell your own adventure where as you're making decisions, it's just writing the plot in the
it
background.
makes the game.
Yeah, it makes
As
the
you're
game
playing
as
it.
you're playing it.
Oh
based
my
on,
fucking God.
Dude, that is the game I want to play
That's
right
the
there.
game everybody wants to play.
Yeah.
And that's where you start getting into like total recall shit, right? It's to where you're like, am I still in the game? Like, you know what I mean? It's to where it starts to write itself and you lose yourself in between the game and reality and shit. It's like you leave the game, but did I leave the game or is that part of the game?
See, and imagine how many like Twitch videos or just playthrough videos that be everyone's
Oh,
different.
people streaming and like, yeah, everybody's experience is not like, it's different in like games where you can like pick and choose, like a open world game like GTA. Yeah, everybody plays the game different, but essentially you're playing the same game.
Yep.
But what if, like we're saying, everybody starts in the same spot, and then every choice you make takes it down a different path, and that game can be played continually, and there's not really an end.
Right. It's just chapters.
It
if you
just
will.
continues to evolve until it's everybody's experience is different, just like in real life. So it's like you start when you're born, and then, but think about how many people would waste their real life
playing that.
playing that fucking game. But also, what's
Ready
to
Player
say?
One.
What's to say? Reality isn't that already.
In a way, we would
And-
never be able to know.
You would not know, and it wouldn't matter. Like
So you have
that's-
to ask the Magic 8 Ball that question.
dude, that's the simulation theory. Is like, would it matter to us? No. If this is a simulation, no, probably not. And if it's a simulation, then the world that we're hiding from is probably way worse.
I was going to say, funny enough, this idea of what if it's all a simulation has shown up
The
in
Matrix, by the way, one AI
Oh, yeah,
movie
sure.
that we didn't.
No, I said the Matrix.
Yeah,
earlier.
he mentioned it. I was going to say, in philosophy, you also have this question as well of, like what is real or what isn't real. And one I always found amusing was Bishop Berkeley, although people say Berkeley now, but he's the guy that Berkeley's named after. And he came up with an idea. So a lot of empiricists were basically saying that our mind is a blank slate and that through experiencing
Tabula rasa.
Exactly. Like through our experiencing our ideas of the physical world, broken down as like to primary and secondary qualities and the like that, that we build our idea of what the world is. And Bishop Berkeley's like, I'm just going to take out the middleman. All our mind deals with is ideas. All we have knowledge of is ideas, and that is it. Anything I see, like seeing you or you seeing me, I just have the ideas that my brain is being furnished with that you're there.
Okay. Here's the thing about ideas, and this is
So
a
when
way-
was that?
Well, hold on.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, just because it's a very
I believe 17th century. So 17th, 18th, or 16th, 17th century.
You're talking about ideas, creativity. Ideas are creativity, yes?
I mean-
and so my point is like this is another way you could start to decide if something's conscious or not. It's like when it creates its own ideas without any external programming. It's like, so I think this is the way you would have to do it. You create this AI, you know it's going to start
But
learning.
don't we have external programming in our DNA?
Well, just in our environment.
Exactly. So
know?
you do have baseline parameters on how you operate as a, because we do, like you said, we do as humans, we have that. We are essentially programmed to not all have the same experience, but we all are programmed to exist in the environment we're in, right? So you would have to do that with an AI. You have to start at a base line, but also you don't insert those ideas or programming into it and let it just kind of develop as it does.
I think
And
it's
then-
not going to know
but-
it's self-aware until it's already happened,
But
and it's
until
going to look back and
until
be.
you let it be creative.
Yeah.
And not go, oh, I need you to make me a painting, or I need you to just let it create things and experience things as its own. And that's what I was talking about as far as like a base, like deciding if something's conscious or not is like new ideas of its own.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't it be interesting if you one day, you go to an AI and you're like, hey, make me a painting, and he starts asking you like questions
Of
about
what? What do
like,
you want me to make a painting of?
not even that, like values of what makes a painting good. Like, how could I, or, like, how does this move you? Or it starts, or maybe maybe it has its own emotional response to a painting. Those kind
And
of,
we were talking about that at the beginning of the episode. It's like,
that would be hard
how,
to fake.
how do we know that it couldn't have emotions?
Yeah, well, I mean, what if you showed a
Like,
Van Gogh painting to an AI and it had just a deep, like, oh my God, I connect with
And
it.
it
And you asked,
cried.
and it cried.
It was so
what?
it was impacted so much that it cried in its own form.
Yeah.
Sure, there's a sci-fi
But
story
here's
with
the
that
deal.
somewhere.
Then you would have
Probably.
to give it some form of.
Epitaph.
I know
Was it
Data
gonna-
cries when his cat almost dies in Star Trek Generations. So
There was
there
a
you go.
story about a robot who fell in love, and it was named Epitaph or something. Let's see if I can find it here. But I think it is in the classic sci-fi realm, just like I, Robot, one of those short stories.
Kind of in that golden age with Heinlein and Arthur C. Clarke.
How does it
Yes.
have emotions without a body?
I mean, if it has a complex enough network.
Because it's not just our brains that cause us to be who we are. It's like you said, it's our consciousness interacting with this physical form, and like, how is that possible? We're not sure.
Mhm.
But our
don't know.
emotions are the result of different chemicals in our bodies that are interacting with our brains. Like, so they're almost intertwined. So can you have like true consciousness without biology?
Well, and that's an interesting question.
Because, like we said, yeah, sure, you could program this AI. You could go in and, like we were saying, you have to have a baseline. So you're like, these are the emotions you're going to have based on whatever you run into, right? Like, I don't like this. This upsets me. This makes me happy. I really enjoy that. Like, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's like, so how does a computer develop emotion? And I'm probably asking like crazy shit right now, but like,
Well, I would say the thing to keep in mind is while our brains are electrochemical, they are still very much a how shall I say, like a designed or a it's still machine-like in its own regard. It does it in a way that's obviously different than circuitry, but at the end of the day, it's still, in some sense, got that mechanism to it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, could you? So in philosophy, we call this multi-realizability. And the question you would have are emotions multi-realizable? And it seems like they are, because even in animals,
multi-realizable, what is that?
basically let's take emotions for example. Are emotions something that only exists in humans, or can they be realized in things that are completely different to humans? So for example, do animals have emotions? I think most
I
people,
would say yes.
Yes.
exactly.
And dogs are an expert
That,
reading
they're
our
They're
emotions.
probably the best example, just because we're so familiar with dogs.
Yeah.
But even my cat, like I can tell when that fucker's mad.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell when he
Depressed.
is.
You know.
Yeah, dude. Like,
Yeah.
Well, even the meow itself is a vocalization for humans. They don't meow to other cats. They only do this
Which
vocalization
is-
to us.
that is crazy, right?
And so, in principle, since emotion is in principle multi-realizable in other things other than us, there would be no in principle reason why it couldn't be realized in a AI.
But those are all biological still.
They are
We're talking
but-
about something completely different. That's the problem.
Well, that's why I
It's
say
like,
in principle.
We know, just because we don't know where consciousness comes from. We do know where emotion comes from. We know what causes you to be angry, the chemicals that do that. We know the part of the brain that manifests in. It's like so we're not like completely in the dark about this shit.
Right.
But you would like to compensate for that biological programming, you would need some other like software type programming to regulate those emotions, right?
But that's all it would be programming.
But it's,
and
that's like what we're saying. Like
It's
you
like
said,
at
it's a
what
biological
point-
machine being controlled by biological programming.
When do we know that I think, therefore I am? When is it an actual thought? Just like you were saying, when is it creating out of nothingness?
Right.
What-
Exactly. Exactly. Like
I know.
when is it a programmed thought that it's like, because that's currently, so like the Google AI
Or even ChatGPT.
is essentially programmed to respond in certain ways based on certain information, right? Like it's
Yep.
Eventually you're gonna run out of responses if you go long enough, right? But
I don't know. The internet has
it's
no
not
end
gonna create.
sometimes.
It's not gonna create its own new ideas,
Yeah.
It's always regurgitating something else that already exists.
right?
Yeah. I will point out something.
But people are like that too.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was just going to point something out that we haven't, in one of our assumptions about AI and consciousness that we haven't talked about yet. Are we ourselves actually conscious, or are we in a deterministic universe wherein every prior state is dictating my current state and my current state dictating my future states?
Oh my god.
So even with humans, you could make an argument, and people have, that we are not in fact ourselves actually.
Or just barely.
Yeah, well, you think about it. I could sit there and
We're in
say
a
to my-
matrix.
yeah,
We're in the little pods.
because if I wasn't here right now talking to
It's
you
the
guys,
illusion of free will.
yeah, exactly. Because if I wasn't here right now with you guys being stimuli to think about this, would I right now, if I was at home, think, "Am I aware? Am I self?" I wouldn't, because I don't have that stimulus present.
Oh my god.
We have been trying these new speakers
So
out
it's
on
like
this. Where am I
floating in
gonna
that.
put-
It's again floating in that void.
Yeah, so even with humans, can we like that concern of how much of autonomy do we actually have? That even isn't even
Yeah.
answered.
How much of what we do is just programmed response, like,
Exactly.
and you feel like you have free will just because you have such a wide range of options.
Well, and you think about it as well. So in psychology, have you guys ever heard of a thing called a schema?
Mm-mm.
So in psychology, our brains naturally like to group certain things together. So if I just ask you guys right now, think of the color white. Just think of the color white, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have thoughts in your mind go to white things such as snow, milk, maybe your white-haired dog? Like your brain naturally takes ideas like white and starts connecting them
I
to
actually
others.
just looked at the trim on the.
and the white guitars right behind you.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That's how
I didn't even like think of something. I just like I thought of like a blank white plane, but then also I was just staring at the trim on the wall
Yeah, if you think about the color white long enough, you'll start thinking about things
of
that
something
are white.
that is white.
Or like you
Exactly.
get a new car and then all of a sudden you're seeing that
Like
same
Bill,
car
he's
everywhere.
like super extra white. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so, but you think about
Almost
it,
see-through.
our brains
Transparent.
naturally filter information, they naturally group information, and it's all a process that's a backdoor process. We're not consciously thinking or creating these schemas whatsoever.
Yeah, it's programmed response, dude.
Exactly.
And so That's what I was saying, like the illusion of free will. It's like you have such a wide array of programmed responses that it seems like you're making your own choices, but really you're still choosing from a predetermined set of responses.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, there's people who have attacked this idea of
This shit is fucking breaking my brain.
yeah, but and you know, and there's obviously a lot of
This is
people.
the kind of
who
shit I love, and I really want to do like more shit like this on the show.
So you think about it, though, I mean, you know, since we can't even appraise ourselves in a way fairly or in a neutral way, it makes appraising AI almost impossible.
That's well, exactly. Like we're using ourselves as a ruler, and we don't even know how long the ruler is. You know what I mean? So it's like
even with life itself, it's like, no, we need this, this, and this for life to exist. Go to the deepest depths of the ocean.
You know what
life cannot exist here. It's thriving. Go to like the volcanic eruptions. No, life cannot exist at this temperature. It's thriving.
Look how
extremophiles.
Well, you think about that, but then also look at like extinction events on the planet and how long humans have actually been here, and how many societies and civilizations that have reached insane amounts of sophistication, different levels of like just as advanced as us, but in different ways, in different forms. You know what I mean? How did they build the fucking pyramids? We don't fucking know.
Like, right, they're still researching Roman concrete,
Dude,
and how durable it is.
it's you can't.
Well, we also assume that we are the most intelligent, which
No, I don't
I don't know.
think
Or
that's-
advanced, I guess is the best word.
But yeah, also I mean,
But then it's like, the pyramids. We can't even figure out how they did that.
We don't know how.
Or they don't want us to figure it out.
I have seen some.
I think the pyramids are much older than they assume.
The Sphinx is. They've found water erosion on the Sphinx, which ruins their timelines
I was
altogether.
listening to a podcast today, and I would encourage you guys to do the same. But it was on Joe Rogan's show, but he had a couple of guys on talking about ancient civilizations and whatnot. And what they were talking about a lot was like this site that really lines up big time with the Atlantis descriptions from Plato. So just the geography of the area all fits into the description, but it's in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Oh yeah.
So everybody assumed it's underwater, but it's out in the middle of the desert. There's but they were talking about just like humanity and the way that we assume just through like current theories and whatnot of like how long we've actually been here. And I'm losing my thought here.
Well, we assume a lot of times that at any given time that we are at the pinnacle, right?
And they talked about that too. Is like we feel like we're at the top right now, but honestly, we can't even figure out how they did that. We're not even on their level. Like whoever built those pyramids, we are not on that level. We could do that. Definitely, we could do that, but it would be a monumental, ridiculous fucking effort that would.
Or it would be of different materials than what they
but
had.
to do it, okay. Yeah, sure.
I mean, it would
Like we could do it with concrete, and that'd be way.
it would be half of it would all just be a facade of styrofoam with the proper paint,
Yeah, but it wouldn't be a true pyramid. We're talking about something that could last.
Not only, and that's just it. How long could that last?
It wouldn't. Like, and like that's the point is we don't even know how old they are.
Well,
Really,
over 4,000 years, roughly.
it's
at least.
over. No, well, they say 6,000.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like at least 4,000 years. What you think about it?
But it's so much. They're so much older than that.
Oh, I'm sure.
They gotta be.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm just, yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and well, I mean, even with peoples in the past, like I would honestly argue that the thinkers of the 16th and 17th and 18th centuries were far more intelligent than we were, even though they don't have like the technology. I mean, you think about it.
They had a longevity, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut
Oh, you're
you,
good.
but they had a longevity in like their society.
Yeah.
Like the modern world is what, 400 years old? If you the industrial age, when did that start?
That's in like around 1850s.
Not that long.
Yeah.
Because when you start talking about those monolithic sites, they talk about, oh, it's between, 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Well, that's fucking 4,000 years old. A space in there where you're like, you're going, yeah, it's between this. And that is such a huge chunk of time. 4,000 years, even 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Even 1,000 years. 1,000 years ago, they didn't speak English. Like, English was not a thing.
Well, it was a very older version. Of English.
Well, okay, right. But you
It
get
was
what
really-
No YOLO.
There was a completely different world in these spaces that they're like, it's between here and here. You have the world changes so quickly.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're at a time where
So what if
things
this
change quicker, just like the exponential kind of growth in technology,
Is it
where it's
quicker?
rapidly.
Is it quicker, or does it just seem like that to
I think
us?
both.
I think it's legitimately quicker. I mean, look at just the transition from bronze tools and weaponry to iron. That took.
How many times does that happen? Though?
And
It has, but just in general.
No, I'm saying like we don't know, but also maybe this is the first time we've delved into like the technological form of advancement, but also like building the pyramids, they were advanced in a way that we don't even understand. That's like what I'm thinking
Yeah.
is like, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I mean, it's. I do think though that the rate of progress, at least even, I would say even ideologically, socially, I think has increased.
I would be more inclined to think that as civilizations happen and fall, is like you do have these periods where advancement seems to go really quickly.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
So
when they built the pyramids, maybe
the first computer was built in 1945. This is just a quick Google search. When the first computer beat the man at chess was in 1997. So now in 2020,
Wow, that was that long ago?
22, so 22 years, we are getting artificial intelligence that can chat with us, that can talk with us, give us answers and solution, can help us code. We'll write code for you and tell you what's wrong with your code.
I think that's
And I mean, and that's the kind of progression that, that rapidly,
I will say, if you want to know something, Google something to blow your mind. Look up the ancient Greek computer.
oh yeah.
oh yeah, the one they found on that ship,
Yep.
and then they rebuilt it. Isn't it a calendar?
No,
It's a celestial count, or is it a actual?
I think it's.
Or they don't know what it was
I don't think they don't know fully what it was, but
because they only found like the gears and shit, and then they
I think it was due to navigation and stuff like that. I think is what they were using it for. It was
because
probably,
it was on a ship.
Yeah, what's it say there, Bill?
The
Ancient Greek
Anna,
hand-powered rotary described by the oldest example of an analog computer.
Anna, is that where the
This
analog?
is Wikipedia.
Is that where the word analog comes from? 'Cause
Analog
it's
just means
Anna-
physical. Physical. I think analog just became more prevalent.
mechanism.
Yeah, in terms of, I highly doubt the word analog itself, etymology comes from the Greek. It's probably a Latin word. Because that's the thing that's interesting about English, right, is with the Norman invasion and the Normans coming into England.
All right, well, read that real quick. Well,
I mean, that was the
Okay, go.
oldest part about it.
so what were you
It's
looking?
used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses during the decades. So actually predicting the eclipses, that's a pretty
Decades in advance, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it says there, yeah.
Well, dude, not like going back to the pyramids and shit. You look at like the alignment of that on the horizontal, and so your latitude and longitude, like, so that's like almost perfect on that, right? Like
Yeah.
the placement of those pyramids.
Yeah.
Not only that, if you take the circumference, like you do the math on the measurements of the bottom of the pyramid, it equals out to the circumference of the earth in one respect, and then you do the height,
Okay.
and it does the same for the opposite. So you get the dimensions of the earth
Gotcha. Okay.
based on the measurements of the pyramid if you do the math the right way. I'm not that smart.
No, you're good. I was going to say one thing I want to say, just because this is one of my pet peeves. Just so you know, the ancients did not believe the world was flat. Aristotle, in fact, proved it was round. So, I mean,
I've actually heard that.
yeah.
That's a pretty modern, really fucking stupid belief.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just like the Dark Ages being called the Dark Ages when the Renaissance was the rebirth.
Yeah.
'Cause it was just the
They
arrogance of
called it that back then.
'cause no, they didn't. The Dark Ages people didn't think they were in the Dark Ages. The
They were
Renaissance
just like-
only
they
just
were-
did it
they
too.
were just like, this
that
is
was
life.
we are the Renaissance.
Yeah, the
We wave our private parts in your general direction.
I mean, because they were able to get the ancient Greek materials back to them, like Aristotle and Plato, since they really, I mean, in the West, after the collapse of the Roman Empire, they had like 5 books, one of them being the Bible, and Plato's Timaeus being another. So, I mean, they didn't have a lot of books in the West, and so, but even still, with the monasteries, there was still a lot of theological development and thought going in there that a lot of people just now ignore.
Well, a lot of books, you didn't have a lot of books until the printing press, and you know what they printed after that was like how to spot a witch. Shit like that. It wasn't like, here's some actual knowledge there. No, like, here's how to...
It's just like the internet today, right? Not much
all,
has changed.
Fucking propaganda and bullshit because people are crazy, man.
Yeah, like, Trump's going to do this or something. Yeah, I mean, you see all these kind of fake news things. And these ideas, I mean, are old. I mean, really, if you study history long enough, you really do come to the conclusion there's not much new under the sun.
No, there's not. And like, people are people, and always will be. And well, hopefully not. Hopefully we do get better at this.
Well, I think people are people, but there's different ranges.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm hoping, I think what you're saying is you hope
But that's the whole thing about
people
history.
are good when the right time comes.
No, I am a pretty
that's why.
big believer in the idea that most people are good and good is a spectrum, obviously.
Skynet would disagree with you.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, it depends on your level of perspective. If you look at us over the time of our,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
such a fucking dude. So the second one was that was actually, though, I didn't watch the first Terminator until I was much older.
Mm.
But like, so Judgment Day was that was Terminator to me. So I was like, Arnold, he's a bad guy. Come on.
I mean, yeah, it was the same way for me. I watched T2 probably the first time I was like 8 or 10 or something like that.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
didn't watch the original.
How old are you?
30. I'll be 33 in April.
See, I watched the original one first.
Did you?
Yeah. So when he came back and you saw him there, I still had that bit of terror. That's like, oh no, you didn't know.
Yeah.
I think you probably knew a little bit
so
from the
like in the
previews.
beginning of the second one, you're like, oh shit.
It's like, oh no, there's 2 of them after her now. It's like, oh, just like Sarah Connor character was afraid.
Dude, you know what's so funny about the newest one? When he's like selling blinds and shit. You remember?
I don't know if I've seen it.
So like,
yeah, I haven't even wasted my
the
time.
story of it is that the one from T2, so the
The liquid one,
no,
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnie's
Okay.
Cyberdyne 101 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever he is. He wasn't the only one that was sent back. It's like they were a handful of them sent back in time to try and find John Connor, and that's just the one that found him. The one in the newest Terminator was one that didn't find John, and just after the mission was complete, he just started a life.
He just
And
got
married
to work.
and married this chick and started selling blinds and shit, so he could like break down everything about like hanging blinds in your house and like how to be feng shui and like all this. It was really fucking hilarious. You guys should watch.
That's
it.
the one where they did the like this part. It was I don't know if it was a deep fake, but they basically had a digitally de-aged Linda Hamilton, and they had the young Edward Furlong as he looked in T2. And
Well, here's the thing. I forgot about this part. He's actually the one that killed John. Because after the events of the second movie, D-Day's like they think they saved the future and all this, and like Sarah and John go on holiday in like Hawaii or whatever, and as they're partying down, and that's kind of the thing. Sarah watches another one of the Arnolds show up and smoke John, and that's
kaboom.
yeah, it like kills him, and it like starts the whole shit over again.
Yeah, I've seen it broken down by Corridor Crew when they were talking about the special effects of it. So that's how I know about that scene. It's interesting.
It's an interesting, because like you're not only are you fucking with AI, but you're talking about time travel too, and what the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
It gets really complicated. Then didn't we do it a time travel episode?
Yeah, I think so.
God, we've done so many now. We can't even remember what we've done.
Did you guys talk about Steins Gate in that one?
Mm-mm.
That's, in my opinion, that's the best sci-fi story I've watched.
See, I didn't finish it.
Steins Gate.
It's a
Is that an anime?
It's an anime, yeah. So
Who else was talking about that?
Chelsea.
Was she?
well,
Yeah.
um,
Or Vince.
yeah. Well, I was the one who introduced them to it, so
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
it's a great story. It's basically about a guy who inadvertently invents a time machine, and he's starting to change things. It's like, yeah, whatever. And then his best
He
friend,
creates a time machine by accident.
kind of, yeah.
How the fuck do you do that?
It explains that, but
I'm gonna have to watch this.
But basically, he gets into a situation where no matter what he does, his childhood best friend dies. No matter how many times he tries to go back and save her, she just keeps dying in it just any way you can imagine. And so he's trying to figure out how to undo every choice he made.
That's
So
like,
it's like undoing his own butterfly effect.
that's like
Exactly,
that Doctor Strange episode of What If. It's like no matter what he does, that chick dies. You know what I mean?
Kind of, yeah. And I don't want to spoil it. It's a good show if you want your heart ripped out and stomped on. Very
I do.
emotional.
I like that a lot.
It's very cathartic emotionally, at least for me. And I know that Chelsea was one of those types of people that didn't grip her in the first episode. She's like, yeah, whatever. I forced her to watch like 6, and then she's like hooked, and she's like, oh, I got to finish this. And now it's one of her favorites. So.
Nike's really into it
She
too.
was like that.
Because of her.
Yes, because
Well,
all because of you.
She was like that with Dragon Ball too, and now she's doing a Dragon Ball podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Vinny and I for years were like, dude, watch it. It's awesome.
Yeah,
And
by
then-
the way, do you ever want to do the Dragon Ball podcast?
It's been a long time since I've watched any of
You
it.
didn't watch any Super.
Well, I did. So my buddy in college was watching Super as it's coming out. So I have seen, I don't know what the arc they call it, but basically all the universes fighting. And I've seen
the Tournament of Power.
the Tournament of Power, and I know who wins and all of that. So I enjoyed it. It was a good tournament.
So fucking good.
My favorite.
By the way, go to the Dragon ComixZone.com, and we have, like we said, we got the main show, which is we're on right now, and also Dragging These Balls, where we break down Dragon Ball and all its forms right now. Like we said, we're on the Tournament of Power.
Mm-hmm.
And winding down on the main shit, we might jump into GT, but
Are you a masochist? No.
I talked about it last episode. I'm like, we can cover that, but it's going to be a hard watch.
Yeah, I've never watched GT, so I'm just like, yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. But yeah, go and check that out whenever, or if you haven't, or if you're into Dragon Ball.
So you guys need to watch Hunter x Hunter X. That's what you need to
I've
watch.
watched some of that. Have you ever watched like Psychopaths?
Yes. Only the first season, but the first season is
Dude,
awesome.
you just watch all of it. I think there's only one season.
I think there's 2.
Is there?
I want to say there is, but obviously.
That one kind of gets into AI, but it's like a build an AI out of multiple minds.
Yeah, like
So it's
brain
like
in
a-
the vat.
It's like a hive mind type thing. So all your like hyper geniuses and psychopaths and shit are all a part of this mass.
Because they made something called the Sybil system where it can real time tell your emotional state and your probability of committing violent crime.
So like it's kind of like
I saw that when I was in Chicago in the offices of Microsoft.
so they're
It
watching
really
you.
exists.
They're watching you, and through these scanners and shit, they can sense your like emotional level, and they'll kill you if you get too emotional or upset.
And they run into a psychopath who can legitimately murder someone right in front of you, and he registers as like dead sane.
But they also have these guns that are you're only able to fire once they read that somebody needs to be taken out. So like you said, a psychopath that can kill somebody with no reading and you can't kill them.
Yeah, your gun doesn't work. It just sits there and goes, "Oh, normal range," and
Normal range, she's fine.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a great
but-
show.
Which one was this?
But in the
Psychopaths.
beginning of the show,
Psychopaths.
psychopaths.
Past.
Yeah,
Pass.
tent.
no, like pass, like a multi-pass.
Oh, multi-pass. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the show, first episode,
So they can.
listen,
I gotcha.
let's check it out. First episode, this chick is a hostage of some really like fucked up dude, right? They are chasing down this guy. They end up killing him. Save the day, yes. But then their weapons start reading that the victim is too emotional.
Yep.
And she's just upset and freaking, oh, I just been through a really bad thing and I'm freaking out. And they're like,
I think she was raped too. So I
yeah.
think
So
that-
it's like, it doesn't distinguish between like somebody who's a victim and emotionally upset and somebody who's a fucking raving lunatic.
yeah.
So it's like obviously a flawed system. It's almost like the Minority Report.
Kind of, yeah, yeah. It's a similar, idea, except for you don't have like actual like predicting the future.
Right.
Through some 3 kids in a pot of water. Sure, it works.
They're precognizant. Hello.
Yeah. How does that work? No.
Yeah. Anyway,
I feel we've really gone down a different rabbit hole than AI, but
oh, now?
It happens.
That happens a lot on this show, but
it does, yeah.
I hope we covered that shit fairly well. I mean, I felt like we did a pretty good job, at least our interpretation of things.
You could do a whole podcast on AI.
Oh,
just
yeah.
alone.
Oh, yeah. And if we
So-
could get, like, guests, not saying you don't know what the fuck because you're, like, one of the smartest fucking people we've met on here, like, no doubt.
Thank you.
We bring you on when we want to feel smarter.
Yeah. When we're like, we don't know shit, where's Scott?
Where's Scott? Call him.
Fair.
Yeah.
Get him down here. Stat.
I mean, if you say so.
Dude, he's so humble too. What a guy. What a guy. Follow the Comix Zone wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, all the good stuff, iTunes. Go to YouTube, follow us there. We need the follows there. No,
Yeah, so we're putting these all up every
Yep.
episode now.
all video now. So go check out YouTube and follow us there and support the page there, TikTok, all the good shit, socials, all that.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
And as Bill would say, keep it black.